Hello and welcome to Flix and Chill with me, Luke. Today, I don't actually have any special guest today because we are changing things. And there is a reason why I'm saying we. Because this podcast will still be Flix and Chill. We'll still be chilling and talking about a bunch of movies. But there is a catch. I roped in one of my best friends and a fellow Syspov contributor, Shane Conto, to join me as a co-host. And here's Shane. So please, if somebody for some reason doesn't know about you yet, give us a brief bio and introduce yourself.
Part of the ship, part of the crew, part of the
Yeah.
SPDM crew. So, yes, my name is Shane Conto. I am the Wasteland reviewer.
Hmm.
So, I have been a YouTuber for this is 10 years now. This is my 10-year
Nice.
anniversary this year. I started the Wasteland Reviewer Facebook page back in January 2016, where I did written reviews and then shifted into doing YouTube in
Hmm.
August
Hmm.
when I first video with no lighting and a crappy webcam did Sausage Party, which is hilarious to look back on. And I've been doing that for a long time now, and I write at Sif Pop. I've been a contributor there since I feel like sometime before COVID. That seems like a whole lifetime ago.
Yep.
At this point, and I've written at multiple other websites. I currently contribute to Knock on Wood Films, one of our friends of the show and pals, Rowan Wood.
Hmm.
Um, and I, have five podcasts, now six podcasts here on the SPDM crew, all movie related in some shape or form. And Luke is one of my closest friends, especially that I've made through all of these ventures into movies. And, when the call to arms came to join in and co-host this show, I'm like, well, we're gonna do it. So, I'm excited to do this. I always like talking movies, and Luke and I always have great conversations, and we're gonna continue to do that here on Flicks and Chill.
Yes, and I couldn't be more grateful and excited that you said yes. I am really appreciative because, yeah, as you said, this is now, I believe March, April. It's going to be fourth year since we kind of started recording on a regular basis together. So we see each other at least once a month. And this is why I knew, like when I was thinking of the idea to change this podcast to have a co-host and have it differently, so it's not just interview based, but we will still have guests. But
Yes.
there will be episode just Shane and I talking about movies, talking about stuff we all like. But it's not gonna be, we're not gonna be interviewing each other every single time because obviously that would get stale. And yeah, it's so this is a bit of an intro. So for any of you to know and understand what is coming. So the structure, if you will, of the podcast is simple. We will, as always, introduce ourselves. That's quite self-explanatory, isn't it? Then we go to a rant or a rave. So one thing outside of pop culture that we would like to rant about, something that just pisses us off, could be significant or a first world problem. It's really up to us. Or a rave, like if something happens to all of us, we're like, hey, you know what I love? I don't know, beer. Beer is fucking awesome. Let's talk about beer. This gives us opportunity, to talk about anything random we want, whether it's positive side or negative side. Then we will have a pop culture news. So where I think most of the time it's going to be one each, but sometimes it might be too big, so we'll just do one. And we talk about what's currently relevant in pop culture, mostly probably movies. I don't think we're going to tackle, hey, Grammys came about, and I don't know how I feel about Grammys this year. Like, because I don't really care or listen to music on that level where I could have my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, Shane.
I listen to a lot
Hmm.
of music,
Hmm.
but I don't listen to a ton of like new music, and
See, yeah,
I
okay,
don't
yeah, yeah, I need to reward myself.
and
Yes, like you.
and I don't think the new music that I listen to is necessarily going to win Grammys. Unless it's Dua Lipa. I love her. And I hope she wins all of them.
I feel like we are slowly but eventually turning into get off my porch kid. Like men are like, see this new music.
Well, no, like I listen to a lot of newer hard rock and heavy metal
Hmm.
music, and they shoehorn in one random category at the Grammys for that, and it's always they give it to nostalgia acts a
Mm.
lot of the time, and it's just like, can you like at least acknowledge that there's some newer bands doing some good stuff here?
Yep. Yep.
But no. So I do vaguely um pay attention to the Grammys, but I can rant on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That is something. Thoughts on.
Hmm.
But that's for another day.
Yeah, maybe. You might make it one of your rants. Hey, like I'm listen, I'm willing to listen to
That
anything.
could be an annual thing. When those nominations come out, I could be like, you should make
And you now have the power as a co-host to be like, yeah, I'll talk about this. So,
you
hey,
know what really grinds my gears.
yes, exactly. Okay, Peter, tell me. What grabs my gears lately? That was a horrible Peter Griffin impression. I know. I apologize.
Eh.
Eh. But, and after those pop culture news, we will have our big topic, which is the main crux and the bones of this. And unlike other podcasts, we will not force you to watch any specific movies or couple, because I like those podcasts. Shane does many of them, but I
Yes,
always liked the idea of freedom and talk about many movies. And so we will always have a theme or a topic. For example, our first episode will be very basic, but we will talk about our top 10 most favorite movies of all time for us. So I'll give you my top 10, and Shane will give you his top 10, and we'll talk about them in some sort of depth. Probably not gonna be like, half an hour about every movie, because that would be 10-hour podcast. But, we will, so you guys can, because I've talked about many of my favorite movies, but I don't think I had to formulate my top 10 until this task, really. And for me, it was a bit challenging. But what about you, Shane? I'm guessing you're a bit more sensible when it comes to this. So I know you love your list. So was this a
I do.
challenge for you?
I already had this prepared.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was no prep here
Yes,
for
yes.
on this end of things. I have my letterbox list. I had
Mhm,
I will say, and I could get into this a little bit more when we do that episode, is
mhm,
I once you hit a certain number, I really struggle to
mhm,
like,
mhm,
what the hell am I gonna put next? Like, not this is gonna probably sound crazy to most people, but like I easily did can do my top 200 like
I
pretty
believe it.
easy.
I
But
believe
I
it.
do have a top 500 list on Letterboxd, and the 300 through 500, I'm just like, I could change this like so frequently, and I'm like, I don't think I'll ever be happy with this. So maybe I shouldn't go out to 500. I don't know, but I did it anyway. And
Yeah,
I think it's a project that I return to at least once a year because I give myself projects all the time because I need stuff to do.
of course. For me, like, I'm not gonna lie, because of Letterboxd, I know my top four, and my top fifth was quite easy because they used to be my top four movie. So the first half easy, and then the second half, I'm like, what kind of movies I actually love, like love, love. I would go to bat for every single time, and I came up with like 15 or 20, and I'm like, but which one is like number six? Because to me, like, I don't think about movies like that. So, like, for me, like you say, oh yeah, they're interchangeable. I will present a top 10, but it, like, realistically on this day, my 6 to 10 is this list. On, tomorrow, it can be two other movies there that just, didn't sneak in, but now they snuck in because reasons. And that's how I
Yeah.
operate. And after that, we will have a quick recommendation, something we've watched and enjoyed recently. And I think, yeah, that's gonna be it. So I hope this is gonna make for a fun podcast. Is there anything you would like to, add to it, Shane? Like, what made you say yes, besides my charming personality?
Because besides that, I'm like, well, Luke does so many things for me. I want to do do the show for him. It's and also another frank response. Sometimes it's just nice to not be like the one driving the ship.
Hmm.
And can, because like we're co-hosting this, but Luke is kind of driving the ship on this. So like it's fun to be able to have that kind of feeling. But
Hmm.
specifically, it's nice to, I'm very have very structured types
Hmm.
of podcasts. So what I do, and like you mentioned, most of them, it's like we're talking about this film or
Yeah.
these two films or
Yes.
four films,
Yes.
depending on the show. This gives us some flexibility because I actually tried to do a podcast like this
Hmm.
with two of my friends that we were doing special topics and stuff like that, and it slowly morphed into a movie club, and stopped being about that.
Hmm.
So this will be interesting getting the chance to like talk about some more current events and stuff like that because most of realistically, most of the shows that I do, I don't really have that. It was one of the reasons why I made my talk show in the first place, is to have like a
Yeah.
bunch of different types of conversations, but there's a lot of possibilities here. And
Exactly.
it'll be fun to talk about some of those things with, our friends and those
Hmm.
who we
Hmm.
bring on as guests. So, yeah.
Yes.
So, time to flicks and chill.
It is. So
Chill.
with that said, we can end this episode with shameless plugs, or should I say shameless plugs? So
I
please,
do make that joke occasionally.
yes.
Um, my shameless plugs are you can head over to the Wasteland Review YouTube channel where I review basically all new movies that I possibly can, which is a lot. And I have 3 weekly shows on there, some of which are some of my personal favorites, like Welcome to the Wasteland. And you can also go to the Wasteland Reviewer.blog, which is my website where I do written articles monthly and weekly and do some written reviews and honestly kind of just shamelessly plug whatever I do. You can always follow the Wasteland Review or Instagram, which is probably where I'm most active. I kind of got rid of a whole bunch of my other
Hmm.
social media, to be perfectly honest. I have a letterboxed as well. And, contribute here on the SPM crew, Sif Pop, and Knock on Wood Film.
Yes. And so good of you to actually have a link tree where I can just list one link for everything you do because, if I had to list everything,
Linktree is great.
it is
Maybe I
awesome.
need to go in and delete some of them because I can't remember if I took my X out and my blue sky out of that because I got rid of them.
Ah, I see.
So
I see. No, but yeah, because Shane, yeah, does a lot. And that's why I am, again, so appreciative of you taking on this another podcast with me. But yeah, like, hopefully this is gonna be fun. And look, we can always change it. Like, I might be driving this ship, but I'm relying heavily on Shane for his input. So if he's not gonna be happy, we'll change it. Like, if I'm not gonna be happy, we'll change it. We have
I can
freedom, okay?
backseat drive like an Italian American mother.
Yeah,
Hi,
yes.
Mom.
But yeah, as far as for me, as always, any movies lost on Letterboxd or here. And this is the last bit of update. As always, every other Friday. Yes, this doesn't change. We'll still do, this twice a month, once every other Friday. So yeah, you can look forward to having our first episode of top 10 movies of all time for each of us. And until next time, bye bye.
Bye bye.